Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Andrew, and thank you very much, Rachel. I really appreciate that. Nicely done. So, hello, Boston University. Hello. Yeah, come, you can do better than that. Hello, BU. All right, great. All right, so, anybody fasting today? Good. So, all of you will eat food at some point in time. It's probably a good idea. Well, many of the choices you make in life have a profound impact on something else in the world. It's why we have Earth Day, to recognize that fact. But it's especially true with things you consume, like food. It's one of the major disconnects we seem to have, I think. You know, it's what you do here might affect something over there. How to start looking outside of the microcosm or the little bubble that each of us tends to live in. So how does your breakfast, lunch, or dinner, for instance, what you choose to eat today, have anything at all to do with this shaman from the Amazon area in Peru, or one of the 2 billion people in the world without water, or the imminent extinction of many of the species on Earth, or the plight of this starving child in Ethiopia or Eritrea, or even the taxes that I have to pay this year to our government. A little disgruntled, but, or I should pay to the government. What possibly could you and the food you choose to eat have anything at all to do with these things, and many more? And why should you care? Well, let's find out, shall we? So what do you see in this photo? Without reading too much into it, typically one would see beautiful blue skies, green grass, rolling hills, a couple white clouds. Now we're going to come back to this photo quite a bit later and take a much closer look at it. So for right now, I'd like you to make a little mental imprint of it, and then let's tuck it away, okay? So I stopped eating animals nearly 40 years ago when I was in graduate school, primarily from a health, wellness, and environment standpoint, but also because of the animal research I was involved with at that time. And I still do quite a bit of animal research, quite a bit. But now it's more related to the effect of our food choices. Now it's more of this type of animal research, perhaps in a jungle, a remote area, getting a better grasp on what sustainability really does mean. So that would have to include researching animals like these, of course, at the largest dairy operations in the world, or these, grass-fed and pastured livestock operations here in the US and many countries overseas. This happens to be in the UK. This guy really likes me. I'm talking about the cow here, of course. And researching farms like these. Okay, we can't leave fish out of the equation now, can we? So I became so concerned about the effect of our food choices that I developed some organic vegan food products, a food production business, some enlightenment protocols, even a couple of healthy fast food restaurants. Basically anything I could do to help improve the health of our planet with respect to food while I was lecturing along the way, because I realized very early on that it all begins with education. And not just mine, but everyone's. So we're going to examine the word sustainable pretty carefully, because recently it's been morphed into so many different meanings to suit so many different needs. And it's the latest buzz, isn't it? I mean, you see this word just about everywhere. Now, I found that the word sustainable for most people refers to our energy sector. How many miles per gallon of gas your car can achieve, how many energy efficient light bulbs you can switch out to save electricity, even to waste, how, what, and when to recycle, or the next step up into composting. Often we think of economic or social sustainability, but in most areas of the world, no one really knows much about, and they don't care to hear or talk about what effect our food has on our environment. And I think that's because they're unaware, and they're pretty comfortable being that way despite the enormous effect. But it's also way too challenging. I mean, it's just too challenging for everybody, culturally, socially, sometimes even politically. I call all this global depletion, the loss of our primary resources on Earth, as well as our own health. It's still sustainability. I just think we need to hear it from a different direction, and we need to hear the whole story through an unfiltered lens. So how many here are familiar with the work of Jamie Oliver, or Mark Bittman, or Michael Pollan, of course? Yeah, sure, everybody. About the industrialization of foods and high fructose corn syrup, important, sure. Yeah, but these are just fragments of the picture. We need to move beyond all that and understand the entire picture, the sustainability of our planet, our resources, and ourselves. And to do this, we always need to include topics such as loss of biodiversity, world hunger, sustainability of our own health, water scarcity, agricultural land use inefficiencies, and the state of our oceans and fish. I mean, it's a pretty long and potentially daunting list, isn't it? Well, with food choice or life in general, I think that the key to understanding or solving any problem really begins with recognition that there is indeed a problem to solve. So maybe we should view the Earth as one of us. Let's treat it as a patient for a moment. For instance, none of us are aware of our planet's cholesterol levels or cardiovascular condition, are we? And certainly most of us are not aware of or even concerned about the increasing size of Earth's cancerous tumor or its sudden loss of weight. How about the failing lungs of our planet? Are we aware of those on a daily basis? This is rainforest destruction in Malaysia. Or the traumatic and permanent loss of one of our planet's fingers or arms or legs, things that we may never see again. The Javan and the Tasmanian tiger are already gone. That's not the devil, it's the Tasmanian tiger. And the Ridley sea turtle is on its way out. And then there's the mental status. Are we aware of the severe psychosis our Earth is struggling with? Oh, I mean, what else would you call it? See, the answer to all that's no. We're not aware. Unfortunately, there are no annual checkups. The information about our planet's health hasn't been managed very well. It's not been related correctly to our food choices. It's never a good idea to cover these things up, I think. So once we're better able to communicate the reality of the state of our planet, the global depletion caused by our choice of foods, and once awareness levels are raised, well, then solving these issues and creating a truly healthy planet becomes easier, just like the patient. So the story really begins with these two numbers. There are 7 billion people living on our planet today, 230,000 added every single day. So control of the growth of our population is an issue, but it's not nearly so much of a problem as the number on the right, what we're doing to the planet. The number on the right represents the fact that there are more than 70 billion animals living on our planet that we raise and eat for food each year, and it repeats itself year after year in growing numbers, and that's the problem. In fact, this 70 billion number that you see is very much on the light side, and it's quite impossible to pin down because on any given day you may find up to 1.7 trillion chickens in the world, or 1 to 2 trillion fish in the world on their way, sooner or later, going off to slaughter. So let's look at a graphic about global depletion. Certainly there are other industries that can contribute to this picture, but none have the comprehensive impact. Now, just how serious is this depletion? It's very. In some cases, it's irreversible, and it's spiraling downward quickly. All of these systems that you see are affected. Simply put, we're demanding more of our planet's resources than what it can supply. It would take 1.5 to 2 full Earths to sustain what we're currently taking from and doing to our planet. Most of this is due to our choice to eat animals. It's serious enough on its own merit, but it's made much more so because of all the layers and layers of various influences that tend to bury the problem and bury its solutions. I mean, we just don't want to deal with it, do we? We can put every other major problem in the world at the top of the list to fix, except for this one. And yet this is the world. So what's critical for everyone to understand is that this isn't just a factory farm issue. Not at all. It's a raising animals to eat issue. And we're going to see that as we go along today. So let's refine our thoughts on global warming or climate change. We need to remember that global warming is just one component of the much larger, more insidious problem of global depletion, the more total effect we have on our planet. And the most important thing anyone can do about global warming or global depletion is take a very good look at what's on their plate. Specifically, all foods derived from fish and livestock. And yes, that has to include dairy. Milk, cheese, yogurt. Otherwise, you're closing your eyes to it. It's all part of the problem. Instead of 20%, as the original 2006 United Nations report stated by their LEAD committee, a number of researchers have found that livestock can produce as much as 51% of all greenhouse gas emissions found in our atmosphere, mostly created by the respiratory carbon dioxide that they didn't account for at all during that first report, and by the vast underreporting of methane production by all the billions of animals themselves, not due to confinement, or as a byproduct of factory farming methods. Now, regardless of where this number resides, the exact number, it's somewhere between 20 and 51%, I don't think it matters because look at it. Look closely at it. It's enormous. And the general public needs to know this. I mean, everyone certainly knows the ecological benefits of driving a Prius, right? But very few have the same awareness and concern about eating a steak or fish or chicken. Now, a perfect example of how this information is suppressed occurs every single year during our climate change summits, held originally in Kyoto with its 1997 Kyoto Protocol. More recently, it was in December in Durban, South Africa, where countries have come together and they're trying to solve this global warming problem, but none of this is being addressed. So it's very important for them and everyone else to clearly understand that it won't matter how many light bulbs are changed out, and it won't matter how many hybrid cars there are on the road if we don't first change out the way we eat. Interspersed throughout our discussions are a few themes. One theme is how information about this particular subject has been suppressed, even mismanaged, so much so that objectives of many important meetings like Kyoto and other organizations, perhaps even here at your own school, are not being met. And that all begins with the words we use. How clear are they? Are they conveying reality? These are all food movements that superficially seem to make sense. They make you feel as if you're going in the right direction. Well, because they're going away from factory farms. They're going away from processed foods and high fructose corn syrup. How nice is that? That's got to be a good thing, right? Maybe not. Maybe not. Do any of these words mean sustainable or healthy? Many would want you to think so. How about the word humane? Does humane equal sustainable? And if it does, which it doesn't, who is it? Who is it that tries to define humane for all of us? Anybody know? There is, amazingly, one person in our country that's trying to define that for all of us. Does humane even equal humane? Sounds pretty subjective to me, doesn't it? Well, I have something very important to tell all of you that we can talk more about later. All livestock operations in the world, whether I visited them or interviewed them or not, including cage-free egg farms, all of them have a completely different definition of the word humane than what I do. And if these definitions are wrong, well, then the movements themselves will be wrong, won't they? And what does real food mean? Whether from Jamie Oliver or the Real Food Challenge, I have issues with its precepts. Real food's a very large movement. It's becoming larger every day, growing larger on campuses. If you haven't heard about it, you'll know about it soon. Right, Rachel? Yeah? So it's defined by some core categories, being local, fair, sustainable, and humane, that word again. So it sounds good. So I brought two types of food items with me that I thought I'd show you. One is considered not real food at all. This isn't real food. Well, because it's not local. It was made in Vancouver. Oh, that's very far away, isn't it? And worse, much worse. Well, this is processed. They had to put some things together, even if it's raw, and package it for you. That's terrible. So even though it does have sachi-inchi seeds, a very powerful source of antioxidants and omega-3 fatty acids grown on reclaimed rainforest land, and acai berry, 4 different types of plant protein, all organic, beautifully made, really. But remember, it's not real food. You can't eat it, or you shouldn't eat it. It doesn't fit their definition. Whereas this other food item I brought, actually, I couldn't get myself around to bringing the other item. I'm sorry, let's just say I chickened out. And, you know, actually this is disgusting to me, but I try to keep smiling through all of it. And also I'd have to put gloves on if I handled this thing, and then I'd have to wash everything back down again here. It'd be pretty much a mess. The reason I have to put gloves on is because the dead chicken carries minimally 3 or 4 different types of pathogens, bacteria, viruses, parasites, all very well documented. And I didn't want to be one of the 5 million people that contracted that each year. So unlike the Vega bar, which is not considered real food, this is considered real food because it's local, and the real food people will tell you that they think it's sustainable, healthy, and humane, but it's not. It's not any of those things other than being local. So I'm going to eat the Vega bar because it's infinitely healthier for me and for the planet. And the other one, well, the other one has some serious issues. Therefore, the real food movement itself is flawed because the definitions they're using are flawed, similar to many other things, or all other things if you look at it carefully on this list. Now, just because something's local doesn't at all mean that it's sustainable, healthy, or humane. It doesn't even mean that it should be eaten. The only thing that local means is that it's not very far from here.